WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM's Master of Business Administration is designed to accommodate the career needs of professionals across a variety of work organizations. More information at business.udmercy.edu.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET. I'm Nick Austin.
And I'm Tia Graham. Today on the program, we will chat about a youth performing arts program happening at Wayne State this summer with a focus on teaching kids the skills of arts and how they can translate to thriving careers.
But first, on the Metro, have you ever wondered what happens to our recyclables after they leave the curb or you dump them off in your recycling container? Michigan's been a pioneer of recycling initiatives ever since back in 1978 when we implemented the highest bottle deposit rate in the nation at 10 cents per bottle. But while those efforts help us achieve some of these high return rates in the country, recent news suggests we might be making progress outside of just bottled returns. For the third consecutive year, Michigan hit a record high recycling rate, putting the state on track to meet its goal of 30% recycling rate by 2029. But what exactly does that milestone mean for Detroiters, and how much of a difference does recycling make? Frankly, what do we do with all that recycled material in the first place, and what does it mean for our state's environment and economy more broadly? To answer these questions and more, we're joined by Tracy Purrenhaget, who's a recycling specialist with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, which I'm going to refer to, if I can, as EAGLE from now on. Is that good with you, Tracy?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay, well, Tracy, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you.
So Michigan achieved that record high, like we mentioned, third consecutive year. Can you tell us what led to that accomplishment and why you think it's significant for the state?
Sure. And thanks for having me. We appreciate all the attention on the recycling rate. So yes, we actually are attributing the increase in the recycling rate. And I want to mention that we've been measuring the recycling rate in Michigan since about 2014. So we are attributing the increase in the recycling rate over the last, several years, especially kind of the big spikes in the recycling rate over the last 3 years or so, to really the investments that the state has made financially, as well as with the technical expertise with the communities and the counties and the programs, and the increase in access to recycling, both curbside and drop-off site across the state.
Yeah.
And so with access comes participation and increase in materials and things like that.
Why is it important to get that recycling rate up? Are we getting good returns on that? What does it do for the environment and us here in the state?
So when we have an increase in recycling and increase in access, we're able to take that material. Obviously, first and foremost, we're removing it from our landfills. We're not depositing it into our landfills, not burying it there, but also that material is being used as a commodity to make new end products. And as much as possible, we want to keep that material, those recyclables, in the industry, we call it a commodity, and we're turning it into new products. We have end markets actually in Michigan that use that material, those recyclables, to make new products.
Yeah, so when you're saying commodity, when you're saying end markets, you're basically saying all of our recycling, it doesn't just go to we're taking that material and making other stuff with it. It's actually something we can sell and turn a profit on?
Yeah, so a lot of times recyclables, when they're collected from the curbside or a drop-off site, they actually go to first a material recovery facility. We call it a MRF. We use lots of acronyms. Goes to a material recovery facility, gets sorted and separated back by, into different material types, plastic, different types of plastic, aluminum, metal, paper, all those kinds of things. And then they go to different end markets. So a paper manufacturer, a plastic manufacturer, things like that. And we have some of those right here in Michigan. Clean Tech, for example, in Dundee is one of those places that will take number one plastic bottles, so clear plastic water bottles, number two plastic, which would be milk jugs, and they remanufacture that material back into plastic bottles that you will see back on your store shelves with new products in it. In other cases, we will take yogurt cups and turn them back into, a manufacturer would maybe turn it back into a toothbrush, for example. So sometimes those products are turned back into something completely different that you would never know started out as like a yogurt cup, for example.
So this means then that even at a personal level, when we're doing our recycling, like individually, when I feel like, does it even make sense for me to get in my car and take this cardboard or take all of these recycling into another location if I don't have at-home pickup? I mean, do we know how that balances with the carbon emissions? Like, is it still efficient for me to do that recycling?
It is. It is very important. It's very efficient. I mean, efficiency is, we could talk about that all day.
Sure.
So let's maybe not use that. But we do know that recycling is a scalable opportunity for greenhouse gas emissions. It's a scalable solution for climate change, right? And the reason that we say that is because using recyclable material to make new products is much more efficient and cost effective and uses fewer greenhouse gas emissions because of the less energy that we're using to produce that material instead of using raw natural resources.
I see.
Right?
It's easier at this point as opposed to just getting those raw materials and putting them together.
Right.
Interesting. As we're speaking again with Tracy Purrenhaget, who's a recycling specialist with Eagle.
Yes.
See,
Eagle.
Michigan.
Good job.
Much easier, Tracy. Tracy, let's get into some of dispel some of the myths then, right? Because I would get into arguments all the time with my dad when I tried to get into recycling, and, there were battles, right? And he'd say, you know what, that stuff is not even making it to the recycling joint anyway. They're just throwing it out. What I heard from you, though, is that'd be less efficient anyway. Can you tell us the process? When I put my bottle into the recycling container, what happens at that point?
Yep. So you put it in the container, the truck picks it up. A lot of times it goes directly to a material recovery facility. We have material recovery facilities all over the state of Michigan. Here in the metro area, there is one at the corner of 8 Mile and Southfield Road in Southfield. There's a brand new one in Pontiac. We have them in Emmett County. We have them in Marquette, Michigan. We have them in Kent County. There's supposed to be a new one sited in the city of Detroit from WM. So they're all over the place, and I know I'm missing a bunch of them. But so the material will go there. The truck will collect. There's one in Troy, Sakura, right?
Sure.
So the truck will collect all the recyclables. Let's just use a curbside collection, for example. We'll run the route in a city, collect all of the curbside carts full of recyclables. Once that truck is full, it will take it to a material recovery facility. Get weighed and back up into the facility, empty out the contents on the floor, and then from that point, a loader will come up, pick up a load of recyclables, put it on a conveyor belt. It goes into that facility with a bunch of conveyors, machinery, things like that, and it starts that process from meant to separate all of what we just collected, mixed together, right? And then we start separating all of that material out by type of material.
Yeah, let me jump in right here there. So there's two things I want to think about here. First, touch on the Detroit portion, right? Because let's say I want to recycle. I'm living in Detroit. Curbside, I see some on the curbs for some homes. I don't see them in other places. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions? I'm living in Detroit.
Yes.
What does it take for me to get curbside recycling or to do my recycling?
Right. So if you live in the city of Detroit, if you live in a single family household, you can participate in curbside recycling. It's an opt-in program, which means you need to, request a curbside cart. You can do that actually, and I have the phone number for you or a website
We'll post it on the website too.
So you can do that through DetroitRecycles.org. And if you do that through the website or by calling Green Living Science, and we'll give you that phone number. There is no charge for that. You do have a little education requirement to learn how to recycle, what you can and cannot recycle, but there's no charge for that. Otherwise, you can kind of avoid the education portion of it, which we recommend that you don't do because we really want you to understand what you can and cannot recycle.
We'll get in that in a moment.
Right. So there is a cost for that if you want to, avoid the education. So we're really incentivizing you with no cost if you go through the education portion of it. There's a $25 cost if you go and contact your hauler directly for the cart.
Yeah.
So opportunities in Detroit to recycle curbside. Otherwise, there is the Recycle Here drop-off site that you can utilize.
Yeah. And we'll post that on the website, as I mentioned. But Tracy, let's get into the education component also, because you did mention separating as part of the process. And I wonder, when I see some people recycle, how much hope is involved there, because you might see something that was used as a container for food or something like that, or maybe someone's trying to use a bottle where there's still a little bit of pop or juice left in it.
Right.
What are the best practices when it comes to knowing what we can and can't recycle, and contamination rates? Can you tell us that? Yeah.
So contamination, we consider contamination something that we don't want in there. So a garden hose, that's a contamination. We don't want that. Contamination is also the right thing that you can recycle, but improperly prepared, right? So a ketchup container half filled with ketchup, we don't want that, right?
What about 10% filled with ketchup?
We would want it emptied and rinsed, just rinsed, right? So don't waste a lot of resources, right? Empty it out, give it a quick rinse, and then put it in your cart or bin or at the drop-off site.
Any general best practices or misinformation you run into that you'd like to set right now?
Yeah, I think for what and how to recycle, we ask you to check with your program, so your municipality, your hauler, whoever's running your recycling program. Ask them about what you can and cannot recycle. If you're still unsure, you can reach out to Eagle. We can direct you, if you're not sure where to get that information, we can help you. The Michigan Recycling Coalition can help you. There's lots of resources out there. But first and foremost, ask your municipality for that information or your hauler for that information. That's the best place to go first and foremost for what and how to recycle.
Here's one for you, single-use plastic bags, right? I'll often see people who, you want to recycle something, you got the single-use bags, they'll just throw them in there. But from what I've heard, you're not supposed to put those in there. So can you set this straight right now?
No single-use plastic bags for most of Michigan. When you get a little bit further up in northern Michigan, they have a little bit different guidelines. So also our Know It Before You Throw It campaign, the Recycling Raccoons, if you've seen those around, those give you general guidelines across the state of Michigan. But again, they're going to tell you to go, back to your specific program. So about what and how to recycle. So,
Well, that's good. Well, Tracy, I got like 30 seconds. So is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you that you'd like to get out there? Because now is the opportunity for us to know how to do our best when it comes to recycling.
Yeah, I would just say, we want people to recycle right. Recyclingraccoons.org is one of our sites that you can go to for information. Again, back to your local programs, recycling does work. We use it in Michigan. The end products in Michigan, a lot of them stay in Michigan and get used back to make new products. So it does work.
Very good. Well, Tracy Purrenhaget, recycling specialist with Eagle, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you for having us. Yep.
This is the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. As well, you can sign people up for the recycle bins as well. I signed my mom up for one, and she uses it often. So, make sure you sign up. Save the planet. One bottled water at a time. But coming up on the Metro, we'll chat about a new lounge that just opened up that's trying to keep Detroit classy and sassy. You all stay right there.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET here, hanging out with you. Always fun to talk about places we can go, Tia, where I get to wear my suit and people don't think I look out of place.
Okay, honestly, Nick, if there's any place in the city of Detroit that will be perfect for you, I think this is it.
All right, come on.
Oh my gosh, do you want to get dressed up and go out for a night on the town?
Yes.
Do you want to pull up? Yeah. Do you want to pull up in your best dress or your favorite suit or those perfect hills situated in the heart of Paradise Valley? The Violent Society wants to be a reminder of what once was and bring that history to today's generation. The new upscale lounge will offer live music, food, and drinks with a strict dress code. The design will feature Parisian vibes with a Detroit-style flair. And joining us right now on the Metro is Dennis Archer Jr., the owner of the Vinyl Society. Dennis, welcome to the Metro.
Good morning.
Good
I love
morning.
the intro music. This is hot.
Yeah, pretty nice.
This is
isn't it?
actually the vibe of vinyl. It's perfect.
See, exactly. See, we're already in the right way. We're already moving in the right direction.
Setting the mood.
Yes.
We'll talk later about licensing fees for this piece. We can talk about that off air.
So, the Vinyl Society, where did the idea come from?
It's actually interesting. In 2015, well, let me back up. We opened Central Kitchen and Bar downtown in 2015 after really coming up with the idea in 2013. And that was really, from an economic standpoint, supply and demand. There was a growing demand with a lot of people moving downtown, younger people looking for somewhere maybe hipper, cooler to go. So we created Central, which celebrates 9 years in August. So likewise, back to the supply and demand, from traveling around, the country and around the world, where we found ourselves going, and these are my present business partners, were places that were not clubs where people were dancing and popping bottles, but it wasn't just a restaurant. We found ourselves going what we would refer to as a cocktail lounge. There was, in New York, in the Gramercy Park Hotel, the Rose Bar, which was around for decades, which was phenomenal, iconic. In Paris, at the Hotel Coste on Rue Saint-Honoré, they have a lounge in there that's really swanky and cool and dark and inviting at the same time. So we thought that we could bring that same concept here, but we wanted to do it having it be inspired by the history of Black folks in Detroit. And so for I'm sure you guys are aware, but for your listeners who may not, when Black folks migrated from the South to take automotive jobs from the 20s through the 50s, they were welcome to come here and work, but they were not welcome to live in many of the neighborhoods. And so Black folks, from a residential standpoint, aggregated in the Black Bottom neighborhood, which is now kind of Lafayette Parkish over there in that area. And likewise, they weren't welcome in many of the business establishments. And so then Paradise Valley was born out of necessity. And so a lot of early Black entrepreneurs owned the hotels, the Gotham Hotel, Club 666, many of the Flame Bar, many of the other businesses. And it wasn't just entertainment. It was the doctor's office, the dentist's office, the hospitals were all Black owned. Over time, as you saw in many cities, through urban revitalization, 375 came sweeping through, Ford Field was built, and all that's really left regarding Paradise Valley is a monument sign near Ford Field. So here was Paradise Valley. So in 2015, Mayor Duggan first renamed Harmony Park Paradise Valley. Then the city had 7 properties around the park that they put out to bid, that the city owned. And so my partners and I bid on 2 properties and were the successful winners in a competitive process. And even when we made our pitch in 2015, we said we're going to have 100% Black investor group, and that we were going to put a cocktail lounge on the first floor of one of them. And we even presented a CD with the sort of music that we would play while we were giving our presentation. It's kind of background music. We didn't get licensing fees for that. But long story short, we won. COVID happened. There were some other issues. So finally, 6 weeks, we opened Vinyl Society. Yeah. And we are ecstatic about the team that we put together to manage the place. It's beautiful. We got one of the best sound systems in town. The place is beautiful. When you walk into the place, you feel like a cross-section of that you're in somewhere perhaps European, in the middle of downtown Detroit, inspired by the history of Black folks. Mm-hmm. Because we wanted to be very intentional about that history. And so, one whole wall is vintage photographs and advertisements from that era for all of the entertainment hospitality venues and those entrepreneurs from that time. So I would really encourage. I'd love to have the two of you down.
Oh, of course.
And have all your listeners down.
No, of course. Like I said, Nick already has the whole wardrobe for. He's
you got
ready.
a suit lined up?
Oh, he does.
I'm shocked I'm not wearing it right now.
I am as well. So that's like really, really something special. No, but Dennis Archer Jr., owner of the Vinyl Society, newly opened lounge that aims to keep Detroit remembering what Paradise Valley was, but just remembering just Black people in the city of Detroit. So when you talk about this European feel, and I think about Detroit, Detroit, and I think about us already having exactly. And then I also think about when you were saying, the Black migration, African Americans coming up from the South to claim jobs. I think about going over to Europe to perform and to escape certain things that were happening. So can you also talk about that inspiration there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that will carry through when we start to implement our live entertainment. And you talk about those artists that would have to go to Europe to perform and really get their due. You think of perhaps Josephine Baker.
Yep.
And one of the things that you will remember is that Josephine Baker often had a gardenia in her ear. And so if you look at our social media or our website, and definitely when you come into the venue, our logo is that gardenia. And that pays homage to not just her, but to the other songstresses and performers that could not perform everywhere, but that inspired a generation for decades. And so we even have gardenias on the ceiling coming out of leading to the women's room. It's on our cocktail napkins. And so, again, there's intentionality with making sure that we are inspired by and embrace history, but doing something very contemporary. And that is where the kind of European influence comes in, from steps of service, from decor, etc.
So, Dennis, when we think about the Vinyl Society, and I think about people wanting more live music, they want to feel that, the band again. Can you talk about some of the acts or some of the musical choices that you all are going to have at the Vinyl Society?
Yeah, so we've been open for 5 or 6 weeks, and right now we're just fine-tuning the sound system by way of using DJs, since we've had a variety of people play from a variety of genres. And if you come in, we have like a crow's nest that's up above, that looks down over the place. But we also extended the stage out for live performance. And so I think the first person that will be on stage in the next few weeks will be Nicole New doing a performance. And we've got a number of people that we're not ready yet to announce, but jazz performers, opera performers, people from the symphony will be performing. So this is not just about any one genre of music. We're really just embracing music culture. And then we're also doing a lot of cultural, more intellectual, heady stuff. And so we had 2 weeks ago a reception for Lane Coleman and Charles Boyd. Lane is the first Black chairman of the board of the DIA, and Charles is the first Black chairman of the board of MOCAD. So we did something with LVMH to acknowledge them. We have July 18th, a fireside chat with the Secretary of State around the importance of protecting democracy, where I'll be interviewing her for 30 or 40 minutes, and then she'll stay to ask questions and mingle. So this is very much a gathering place where hopefully people can talk business, they can meet new friends, they can be inspired and educated, and they can party all in one place.
And, before I let you go, of course, I'm thinking about just the dress code and keeping things a certain way and making sure that people are coming dressed to impress, number one. But just talk about that and then the importance of feeling good when you're dressed well.
Yeah, I feel like that there are a number of places to go, including our own Central Kitchen and Bar, where it's 100% come as you are. And so when you go to Central, you may see people leaving a show at the music hall, and a gentleman in a blazer and his date in a dress, and they may be sitting next to somebody going to a game with a jersey and a cap on, and that's fine. Vinyl, no jerseys, no caps, and so
Nick, you're good.
All right, let's go.
The jackets are preferred for gentlemen. We are not to the point now where they are required. We started with being required. That was also when we were going to open in the winter. So opening in 90-degree weather, the required is probably going to take a pause until we get back until after, into mid-fall. But we definitely want people to dress up, feel, grown and sexy, and have a good time. And I think that when the room looks like that and everybody comes like that, I think it just raises the level of feel goodness, if you will, that we're trying to share with everyone.
I love it. This is exactly what my friends and I were talking about.
Come on down.
Dress to impress. I love it. Dennis Archer Jr., the owner of the Vinyl Society as well as Central Kitchen and newly open lounge, a lounge that aims to keep Detroit classy. I want to say thank you so much. Invite us anytime.
We got a champagne tasting tomorrow, 6 o'clock.
Ooh.
Come on down.
Yeah, all right. Let's go.
All right.
It is the Metro on 101.9 WDET. Moving along from places to get your sip to places to get your reading on. Newsstands are one of those places selling all kinds of printed material, but they are disappearing from city life. Well, Periodicals is bringing back this concept, providing Detroiters with printed magazines and media. The shop on the corner of Grand River and West Warren Avenue is expanding perspectives and creativity with every turning page. WDET's Jack Philbrandt turned to Periodicals owner and founder Alea Olu for help with a few magazine recommendations.
Cultured Magazine is one of the many publications that Alea Olu recommends. She's the owner and founder of the magazine shop. On the cover of each issue of Cultured Magazine, you'll see a notable creative person, shot in a way that matches their style and work. For example, the cover of the winter 2023-2024 Cultured Magazine features writer Fran Lebowitz, true to herself, smoking a cigarette and walking the streets of New York City. Inside the magazine, you explore the artist's work and creative process.
Cultured Magazine, it's always sort of a staple. It's always consistent. It always delivers. Cultured is a quarterly. And so the magazine we have at the shop now, it covers November, December, and January 23, 24. And what I love about Cultured is it's a great sort of snapshot of what's happening in the art world right now. And I think, with the art world, it moves so quickly and so many people are curious about who the players are, who's making work right now, what's the conversation around art. And I think Culture does a really good job of capturing just that in a way that isn't too nuanced. It's just very down-to-earth conversations with artists bringing their practice closer to the everyday.
What's a good article or conversation that shows the theme of culture?
Yeah. So there's a really great article in this issue with Miami native painter Hernan Boz. And what's cool about Hernan is when I moved to Eastern Market back in, I want to say, 2011, Hernan was my neighbor. And so I didn't understand sort of the magnitude of the contemporary art world. I did and I didn't. I didn't realize how close it was. One day, these big trucks showed up and they were, taking his paintings off to an exhibition. The art handlers had on white gloves and it was a whole production on our quiet little back street in Detroit. And so, having Hernan as a neighbor and having his practice so close by, it was really a privilege to have someone who's so important in the art world and who has such amazing pieces right there. And so I was excited to see this long form story on him in this issue of Cultured.
Is there a magazine you've been looking for? Olu says they can most likely order it and you're bound to find something new. For WDET, I'm Jack Philbrandt.
That was WDET's Jack Philbrandt talking to Periodicals owner and founder Alea Olu. The shop is keeping physical media alive here in Detroit. For those of you who enjoy magazines, growing up, remember reading magazines on sports, video games. Were you big into magazines, Tia?
Yes. National Geographic. I had Zoo Books.
Way smarter than me.
And then, of course, we had the teen magazines. I can't think of the names of them right now, but they were the little teeny ones.
Tiger Beat was the name of one.
For you?
Well, I just remember taking a Photoshop of my face and putting it on the cover of Tiger Beat and then telling everybody, I made the cover of Tiger Beat.
Oh, wow.
It was a joke. I didn't read Tiger Beat.
I honestly don't even know, but I know it sounds like something
I did make that cover, though, but I never read the magazine.
Nick magazine was one of mine, Nickelodeon magazine. So that was another one I used to read and hold on to.
It's a great magazine, my namesake.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's why I brought it up. However, Coming up on The Metro, we're going to have a conversation about a comedy show that's happening tomorrow night, hosted by WDET's Ryan Patrick Hooper at the Old Miami. You all stay right there.
It's the Metro on 1019 WDET. We just heard about periodicals, magazines. I remember going to the Grand Folks house, seeing Jet Magazine, Ebony Magazine on the cover. Who would you see there? Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Red Fox. Asked my parents about that. Who are these people? What are they talking about? They're like, boy, you don't need to be seeing any of that.
None ya.
But comedy is something that I do remember getting from those magazines, learning about some comedians, and comedy is something that's going to be coming to town here in Detroit pretty soon.
Indeed, it is. The WDET Comedy Showcase. It is back tomorrow or Thursday. It's called What's So Funny About Detroit, and it's a showcase of the best stand-up comics in the city. It's also a benefit for WDET, and you can get your tickets at wdet.org/events. This month's headliner is Ahmad Barucha. He's a national comic who has appeared on Stephen Colbert, Conan, and has his own stand-up special on Comedy Central. WDET's Ryan Patrick Hooper sat down with Ahmad to learn more about how he got started in stand-up.
Yeah, actually, I've been doing it 20 years this month. I always wanted to do comedy. When I was a kid, I watched all stand-up on Comedy Central, and my parents would show me different comedians' specials. And when I was in college, I worked as a dishwasher in a comedy club and a busboy, and I just kind of slowly built my courage. I was like writing down ideas for a year, and then finally jumped on stage and loved it and just kept going. And, you know, it's pretty much the only thing that I think I'm good at. So I didn't have a lot of choice to turn back. You know, you just got to keep hustling and working and writing and performing.
We've taken it too far with cows. We kill them, we eat them, we wear them. That's on par with most animals. But with cows, we also eat veal, which are their children. Then we drink their milk. It doesn't sound as bad, but it's the milk intended for their children we ate. We eat their babies, and then we eat their babies' food with cookies. Just dunking cookies in there, just a midnight snack.
Ahmed, that's got to be a surreal thing for you, though, because you talked about watching Comedy Central growing up as a young comedian, and that's kind of what you wanted to be. You ended up on Comedy Central with your own special.
Yeah, I mean, it really was surreal. You know, I did a half hour on Comedy Central, and it was a blast. We filmed it in New Orleans, and it was just such a great time. And yeah, you know, it was weird. That was the channel that whenever I was a kid, I'd turn on the TV. That was the first channel I'd go to see what was on there. Yeah, so yeah, it was really cool to work with them.
So everyone's afraid of refugees now, right? Refugees and clowns. That's like the two biggest fears out there. It's sad. My dad was a refugee. When he was 16, he escaped from Burma to Pakistan, which really says a lot about Burma. He just woke up one day, he's like, we got to get to a more stable country like Pakistan.
There's always the risk when you look at your influences that, yeah, you want to take a little bit of that flavor, you want to learn something from them, but finding your voice in stand-up comedy, being yourself on stage, it takes time. It can take 15, 20 years to really hit that stride. So what defines you as a stand-up comic?
Yeah, that's hard. You know, I feel like especially like George Carlin's somebody who like try to reinvent himself a lot. So, you know, it feels like you're never completely done defining your voice in a certain way. But for me personally, I try to become more like I am off stage, on stage. You know, sometimes people want to create a character, but I'd like to be more me every day in a way. But you know, I'm kind of silly, lighthearted, you know, clever and thoughtful kind of thing. So I like to kind of play and be silly, but you know, try to look at things in just like a little different light and just not be too serious. You know, sometimes comedy, especially now, can get a little, you know, preachy or whatever. And even though I love doing social commentary, I also kind of want people to be able to forget a lot of the heavier things out there in a way. So yeah, I don't know. I guess yeah, silly and fun, but thoughtful is what I try to be.
I'm a dog person. I actually have a fear of cats, which is the worst fear to have because no one respects it. If you tell anyone that owns a cat that you're afraid of cats, they all have the same reaction. They all want to give you the cat. Want to put the cat on you. Like, oh, not my cat. My cat's different. He's like a dog. Pet him, pet him. That's not how you treat a phobia. You come over to my house, you tell me you're claustrophobic, I don't try to shove you in a closet. Oh, not my closet, it's different. It's like a field. Get in. Get in.
Ahmad Barucha is the headliner for What's So Funny About Detroit tomorrow night at the Old Miami. He spoke with WDET's Ryan Patrick Cooper, who is hosting the benefit for WDET. You can find more information about the comics and get tickets at wdet.org/events.
That's right. This is the Metro on 1019 WDET, bringing the heat with comedy tomorrow. But we've been feeling the heat here in Metro Detroit for a while now. It's getting a little bit cooler, though, even kind of dreary out there. 77 degrees right now with a high of 82 and a chance of slight rain. But there is more hot weather sure to come, and with it, increased health risks for the unhoused population in Metro Detroit. Brian Wright, who runs Hope Shelters in Pontiac, joined WDET's Pat Batchelor to talk about the dangers folks face during these heat waves.
We actually find that if you're unhoused, you have 200 times the likelihood of dying from a heat-related issue. And we don't hear a lot about that.
Now, you're not necessarily waiting for homeless people to come to you. You have actually been out on the street looking for people who need help during the hot weather. What kind of help do you offer when you find them?
We team up with a group out of Oakland University called Street Medicine Oakland. And so they go out with medical students to encampments, and they try to find people, and they try to encourage them to come to the shelter. And our goal is to bring the case management to them. We offer them rides to the a hospital if they need it, or doctor's appointments. We try to use the medical system efficiently, but we're trying to get people the kind of help they need. I had a gentleman in Royal Oak who was sleeping on the streets who says to me, he says, "Brian, you need to stay out on the streets with me and see how hard it is." And I said, "Stephen, I don't need to stay on the streets to tell you it's hard. I can see it. I'm asking you, please come to the shelter where I can give you some air conditioning and get you some case management and get you to a place where you can have air conditioning all the time."
Have you actually done that? Spent any time on the street like that?
I have never spent time on the streets, but you can see it. As I was driving in this morning, I'm looking at all these different places, doorways and trees. You can see people are sleeping on the streets right now, all the way up and down Woodward. And we all know how difficult it is. Man, I've got an air conditioner in my bedroom for extra air. I can't cope with this, so I don't want anybody to have to deal with that.
If someone who's homeless is seeking help, say, at an intersection, and someone drives up, they roll down the window and offers them a bottle of water on a hot day, is that okay?
Oh, that's a wonderful thing to do. I always encourage people to seek a shelter. Obviously, the shelters are full, to be honest with you. So sending somebody to a shelter is not as helpful when it's full. We often take extra people in the shelter. You're not going to solve their problem with a bottle of water or a few dollars to go get a cold drink or something like that. But boy, that's a kind thing to do. And one of the things that we've lost in our society is the ability to be kind. Give them a kind word. Give them some kindness. It does help.
You mentioned that the shelters are full. Was that already a problem before the heat set in? Are we seeing more people coming in to homeless shelters lately?
It's difficult to answer that because we've had some shelters that have closed. And because of that, I do think that there are more people coming to our shelter. Normally in the summertime, we would have 3 to 5 empty beds. I don't think we've had an empty bed since before COVID. But there are definitely more people going into homelessness. It's poverty plus an incident. And boy, have we had a ton of incidents in the last few years.
Like what?
A death in the family, somebody who loses a job, a landlord who decides to no longer take Section 8 housing. There's a number of things that push people into homelessness very fast.
That was Brian Wright, the executive director of Hope Shelters in Pontiac, speaking with WDET's Pat Batchelor. And for those of you out there, a tip for you: if you see someone without shelter on a hot day, you can consider giving them some water, even a gift card to an air-conditioned restaurant to give them an opportunity to get something to eat. This is the Metro.
This is the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. Coming up, we'll learn more about a summer program happening at Wayne State University that highlights how to translate arts into a career. You stay right there.
It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET, broadcasting live from Detroit, where our Pistons are going to be on the clock for the NBA draft tonight. Have the 5th and 53rd picks. It's going to be the first time that we're going to have a pick with our new general manager overseeing things, Tracy Langdon. Looking forward to seeing who we draft and who they're going to be sending to Summer League, because I need a good Pistons team this time around, Tia. But
time only tells. I was going to say Rome wasn't built in a day, right. So I highly doubt that the Pistons are going to be built in a day. But we fingers crossed.
That's
fingers crossed. They have some good pieces still remaining there, so fingers crossed. We'll see. However, thinking about the summer, thinking about things that are happening, there are a wide array of summer camps and resources for young people this year, and most of them do cater to enriching their creative outlets. The Union is a Detroit nonprofit offering programs for Detroit youth 11 to 13 with a passion for music and performing arts. The nonprofit offers summer programming, Keys to Life Performing Arts Summer Camp, and that has the goal of inspiring and empowering the next generation of performers. In partnership with Wayne State University's College of Fine Performing and Communications Arts, this year's dynamic 6-week day camp will enter its 11th year, having served more than 1,100 young people. Daryl Red Campbell Jr. is an award-winning producer, musician, songwriter, and educator with the Union. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's so cool.
Awesome. This made me smile. But 11 years in, what's something that keeps you involved?
Oh, my God. Seeing the development in the kids. So, since I've been involved in it, I've been able to follow some of the young people to, actually start careers in music now. So, they're artists in Detroit and helping out with other programs and stuff like that. So what keeps me going is just seeing them develop, being 11-year-olds in camp at one point who didn't even know they could do anything. And then, it blossoms into this actual career. And the other crazy thing, I'm actually cutting myself off, but when they turn 14 and 15, they come back and help me run camp. So not only they have careers, so they help me run camp, and they're good singers and good people, and I got all these life skills that they learn from camp. And then so that's what keeps me going.
So we think about the camp, of course. What are some things that you wish you knew about the industry that you are passing down to the next generation?
What are things that I wish that I knew about the industry?
Yeah.
I've been a producer since I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And so I've had so many dope opportunities to just travel and be with artists and play. I played 2 inaugurations and things like that. So I've had some of the dopest experiences, and I attribute that to some of the mentors that I had as a kid. And like growing up now, being, older, I'm not going to say how old I am, but being an older person now, I get to turn around and like pass that info to the young people and put them in positions to do some of the dope stuff I do.
So one of the things that we often talk about here in the city of Detroit, or just guests on the Metro in general, is the idea of Teach One, passing down mentorship, especially in the city of Detroit. So you're in this position as a mentor, you're mentoring the young people, you're seeing their careers blossom and grow. What are some things that you've learned from those kids over the years?
Oh, my God. So what I've learned is resilience. It's being a Detroit native. That's already one thing that's kind of in us. But the kids now have this new, I want to say, bigger resilience that we've even had in previous years. But what I learned from them is like, just keep going, keep trying, keep doing new stuff. Every day's a new day and keep trying. Like, that's what I keep learning from these kids. Keep going.
So for this summer, you're going to have the Keys to Life Performing Arts Summer Camp, of course, 6-week day camp. You're going to be there with the kids, 8 to 4 p.m. daily. Talk about the day. What are the kids are going to learn? What are some of the things that they're going to be able to experience?
So the cool thing is our camp is basically 70% life skills. It's, preparing our kids to be just good people, making good decisions, being good students, how to navigate life with your peers and things like that. So majority of the day is that. And then we've also added ELA and math this year, and we're doing expressive numbers, and we're going to create a book of poetry. And then we're creating a musical. So every year we do an original musical written by our own staff and directed by our own kids and everything like that. So at the end of the 6 weeks, they have a book of poetry. They've got these life skills and navigating things. And then we do a musical at the end of it, too.
Which also gives them credits as they go on to do whatever else they're going to do within the industry.
Exactly.
And that's invaluable, resources they're going to take with them as they grow older. Currently, we're chatting with Daryl Red Campbell Jr., an award-winning producer, musician, songwriter, and teacher of the Union at the Union.
I'm just a happy dude. How about that? Darrell the happy dude.
Darrell the happy dude. So, Darrell, what are you hoping the young people do take away from the teachings in the program, especially this summer, adding in extra learning?
Is that there is support out here. So, schools don't always have, music programs and music tech programs and studios and everything like that, or instruments. And I just want the kids to know that there's support out here. There are people who care. There are different avenues to do things, not just of being a rapper, but there are behind the scenes things. There are producers, there are writers, there are even stage hands and stage techs, and those are viable careers. And we want people to know, we want the kids to know that there's support for that. And to open their eyes to just seeing the opportunities of all the things they could do within the industry.
And for yourself, you started out at 11 years old. Once again,
started
out as a young person in the industry. So as you once again continue to go on and continue to move forward within your own personal career, what are some things that you're looking forward to?
At this point, just helping more people who just see the light and see that there's opportunities for advancement, or just opportunities to do things and try things. So that's what I just look forward to every day. It's just making an open path and an open road for people to just try stuff, for kids to try things and know that they're available.
Darrell Red Campbell Jr. is an award-winning producer, musician, songwriter, and teacher for the Union. The program this summer, it runs Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., July 1st through August 9th. For more information about future camps, visit theunion.org. It's The Union. Union is spelled YUNION.org. Thank you so much, Darrell, for being here.
Thank you. So cool to be here. Thank you much.
And that's going to do it for the Metro for Wednesday, June 26th. You can listen to recent episodes online at WDET.org, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
The Metro is a production of WDET, a listener-supported service of Wayne State University. And if you like what you hear and want to support the Metro, consider becoming a member at WDET.org/donate.
The show is produced by Sam Corey, David Lyons, and Jack Philbrandt. Additional production support provided by Anel Scott and Sydney Walkley. Our engineer is Nate Bender, and the music is by Sam Bobian and Will Sessions.
Just so Dennis Archer knows that, so he knows, Dennis Archer Jr., knows that for the future. This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation.
We'll talk to you tomorrow. I got an NBA draft I've got to watch, Tia. Who are we going to get with the 5th pick?
I have no idea, but I hope it helps them out.
Neither do they. Nobody knows. We got to watch and find out.
WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM is offering a new master's degree in ethical leadership focused on sustainable, ethical, and inclusive problem solving. More information at business.udmercy.edu.